All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here talking about real music in real time for a half dozen or so real people just like you and just like me. All right, so Ted Nugent has weighed in on the Neil Young situation. And yes, Ted Nugent was a guest on this show. Before Ted actually was on this show, I was considered kind of a loser. I'm still a loser, but I'm a loser who's interviewed Ted Nugent. So there you go, you know? Or I'm a gossip channel. I love that one. He runs a gossip channel. What are we gossiping about today? Well, we're actually not. We're covering what Ted Nugent said about Neil Young. And it's quite entertaining. And a Detroit radio station decided to do this article. And then, of course, they're from Detroit and they're going to apologize. These aren't my words, these are Ted's words. Anyway, so Nugent basically says, look, he sings Rockin' in the Free World. This is the most obvious and perfect dig, by the way. He sings Rockin' in the Free World, but he wants to censor people, said Uncle Ted. Hey, Neil, choose one. You can't do both, you dirtbag. Oh, no. He used a derogatory term on Neil Young, which is not at all permissible, right? I mean, I was called out for calling people who were yelling at their parents, not their parents, but parents in general. They're yelling at parents because they feel that the parents should be muzzling their children. I think it was that guy Noodles from that rock band, The Offspring, who was lecturing parents, you need to muzzle your kids. And if you're not, you're being irresponsible. Wow. Yeah, so I'm being super irresponsible because I like my kids to breathe. Yeah, I like the O2 to be at 100%. Okay, and they shouldn't be breathing in their own outtake. They shouldn't be breathing it back in. Anyway, they're going to be, I guarantee you this, okay? I can almost, and I've actually already seen some studies about what damage the lockdowns have done to people. And I know you can't talk about psychology. According to certain publications, psychology doesn't exist. And it's just a made up thing. And anyway, so you'll in the years to come, this is all going to come out. It will come out. And then people will be like, what? We weren't told that. And that's because you weren't looking to find it. And then those mainstream people, the so-called mainstream filtered news media, you know what they've been doing? They've been doing this thing where they just don't tell you stuff, right? It's omission. It's reporting by omission. It's wonderful. And then they say, if you look over that side of the fence, you might see some stuff that you're not supposed to see. So please, and this is what Neil Young is about here, please do not look on the other side of the fence because you'll get in trouble. Of course, I'm going to defend Uncle Ted. And this is, I would have done this even if he didn't come on the show here. And I thank Ted for doing that. Again, street credibility. I'm still a loser. I'm just a loser who's interviewed a couple of really great guitar players. Anyway, he goes on after the dirtbag comment. He says, I hope he's healthy and happy, but I think his brain is so burnt he doesn't know what happy is anymore. Nugent added, if he is rocking in the free world, then he wants to censor somebody who's bringing information from world-renowned. See, they're just going to ignore this part. This is the part they hate. These virologists and epidemiologists, and of course, they're going to call it misinformation. Even though these guys are highly published, they know 100 times more about the topic than anyone in the news media. And I would put myself in that category. So anyway, he goes on to say Neil Young is quoting Joe Biden as the decree of, and then it tails off. A decree of what? Like the majesty or the king? He says, are you kidding me? So the person writing the article says, those are Ted's words, and they're in capitals. Please do not throw me under the bus. We run a nice classic rock radio station where we play, I don't know, Soundgarden and we call it classic rock, and we mix it in with what used to be known as classic rock, and we ditch all the cool album tracks we used to play from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We just ditch all that stuff and we hone it down to where it's acceptable classic rock for the people who are, I don't know, just content with no variety and a real boring radio station. That's WCSX in Detroit. By the way, they used to run this really cool online station called Deep Tracks, and they don't have it anymore because apparently too many people were logging on, and the streaming was costing them so much money because people found something that wasn't the same old, and they were going there to listen to music. I was listening to it, and then I got this notification. Well, we had to stop doing this because too many people were liking it. So how about you launch a terrestrial Deep Tracks station, right? I mean, why not? It would be amazing. But anyway, that's a tangent. Sorry. So they basically go on here to make sure that people know that this is Ted Nugent. Now, the funny thing is, Ted Nugent comments on Neil Young, and it's everything you think it would be, meaning that it's predictable and they're using it as clickbait and it's entertaining. But Ted does not hold the views of course, the staff and management of WCSX, which is a Detroit-based radio station. I'm laughing at Detroit because that's where Ted is from. They should welcome Ted as rock and roll royalty. But they're siding with censorship over and over again. These people are siding with it and they're endorsing it and promoting it and embracing it. Look, it's Spotify, right? This might actually create some revenue for the artists who are pulling their music because you can't just stream it anymore. Although you can go to Apple. And by the way, Apple will always promote censorship, and they're not going to have Joe Rogan. No, they're not going to have anybody who's overly controversial, right? Because they invited some people on with an alternative view. This is crazy, people. When you really think about this, we're living in a very strange time where information is being filtered and it's being curated for you by people who have a financial interest in keeping this thing going for as long as they can. Most of these organizations are tied to big pharmaceutical companies. It's just a fact. I mean, you can go follow the trail. This company called BlackRock, which Neil Young, essentially it's hypnosis and then BlackRock and all of these sort of, I don't know, call them shell companies. I'm not even sure after a while. It's a web of corporate and government power, which is now starting to just take over and consume everything. So, when you invest in something, be careful what you're investing in. The problem is it's hard to track it. It might not be your fault if you've got, like a 401k or something, and you realize, oh man, look at all this big pharma stock I've got. Apparently Neil Young, from what I've heard, has some conflicts of interest in this argument between himself, Spotify, and Joe Rogan. The bottom line is Joe Rogan, he just has conversations. And by the way, Joe Rogan should not have acquiesced so much to them because look, the sharks are coming. They see blood in the water and the sharks are coming. They're just like, yep, get them. Let's pull more music off of Spotify. They're not making any money off of the music that's on Spotify, very little. So they can pull their music off like Joni Mitchell or David Crosby, and then they can sell it to whichever company, Hypnosis, whatever company. There's a couple others out there that are running around and they want to buy up catalogs, and they're going to own those catalogs probably forever. So their meager investment on the front end, and then their promotions team, which is far more impressive than any record label these days, right? They're going to get these songs out there and they're going to be either part of advertising or movies, or I guarantee you it's going to be a lot stronger than what it is currently. I mean, these people are like old school record labels on steroids with staff that is highly paid, and a whole business venture which is very well financed. And I guarantee you this music is going to be out there, and it'll do well. It'll do super well for the company. They're going to make all the money at the end of it because their initial investment, they know they're taking this risk where, yeah, they're putting up, $500 million for Bob Dylan or whatever, Bruce Springsteen. And then they're thinking long term, they're going to make billions of dollars off of it. And I'm thinking that's probably what's going to happen. So next time you hear a commercial, it's got a Springsteen song in there because, it's for an antacid product, and the song is I'm on Fire. That'll make perfect sense. You'll be like, yeah, I want to buy more of that Mylanta or whatever it is. I mean, seriously, this is what's coming. And people, I don't really understand this, because I want to go back to that radio station I was talking about where you get the deep tracks and you listen because you love music. And this isn't just a corporate game. All of the people who we thought were going to be gatekeepers to all of the good sort of separation between corporate power and government power, those people like Neil Young, they've all thrown in with the corporate power, and they endorse it and they celebrate it, and they'll stick it to anybody who wants to just get some truth out there. So anyway, Ted Nugent versus Neil Young. Yeah, it's really no contest. Ted is a Renaissance man. He's vibrant, he's active, he's out there. He was on this show. I could barely keep up with the guy. He's just absolutely a one-of-a-kind figure right now in the world, for that matter, because there are few people that have the courage to tell the truth and also do it with just a self-assured attitude, if that's something I can say here about Ted Nugent. Very self-confident. And that's the video here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, Patreon for just $1 a month. And thanks to all the new patrons, all the people coming on board. Yes, those Eric Clapton videos are still out there. I've also planted them over on Rumble, just in case. You never know what's going to happen over here. And that's why I need your support over on Patreon, because as I get closer to, like the power line or the third rail or whatever it is, I mean, this could just be over in an instant. And I hate to even think that after like 6 years of doing this, but you never know what's going to happen.